After watching every single Hulk movie, sifting through the entire MCU timeline, and even looking at some of his most ridiculous moments in the comics, one thing is crystal clear. Bruce Banner might be a brilliant scientist, but the Hulk? He's basically a walking natural disaster. And if we're holding fictional characters accountable for their crimes, there's no way we're letting the big green rage monster off the hook. Because, let's be honest, how many times has the Hulk completely leveled an entire city block just because he had a bad day? So today, we're putting him on trial. We're going to calculate just how many years behind bars the Hulk would get if he were actually sentenced for his many, many crimes. Brace yourself, Banner, because something tells me your anger management issues are about to get you in serious legal trouble. When it comes to property damage, the Hulk is the undisputed heavyweight champion. New York? Destroyed. Johannesburg? Leveled. Sokovia? Yeah, we'll get to that. The thing about the Hulk is that he doesn't just fight bad guys. He fights everything. Buildings, cars, streets, even the ground itself gets obliterated whenever he has one of his legendary temper tantrums. Let's take the Avengers 2012 as an example. During the Battle of New York, the Hulk caused an estimated $160 billion in damages, according to experts who analyzed the scene. And in the real world, causing mass destruction on that scale would land you in prison for at least 20 years per incident. But here's the thing, the Hulk has done this multiple times. The Battle of New York 2012 would be 20 years. Then, Hulk versus Iron Man in Johannesburg, Age of Ultron, is at least 25 years. And attacking a shield, helicarrier, the Incredible Hulk, would end up in 15 years. And that's not even counting all the smaller incidents where he destroyed property just by existing. If we round everything up, the Hulk would be looking at over 100 years just for smashing buildings. And that's before we even talk about the people caught in the chaos. Listen, if you see the Hulk coming, run. That's it. That's the legal advice. Just run. Because if you're anywhere near him, you are seconds away from becoming a tragic news story. Just look at what happened in Thor Ragnarok. Hulk was having a grand old time fighting Thor, but imagine if you were one of the unlucky gladiators standing nearby. You're just trying to survive in a hostile alien world, and suddenly, two gods are throwing each other across the battlefield like action figures. In The Incredible Hulk 2008, he rampaged through a university, sending hundreds of students running for their lives. Imagine sitting in the library cramming for finals, and then boom! The entire building collapses because one guy forgot to take his meditation pills. In legal terms, this is called reckless endangerment, and it carries a minimum sentence of 10 years per incident. Culver University attack, The Incredible Hulk, is 10 years. Then the Harlem Battle, The Incredible Hulk, would be another 10 years. And Johannesburg, Age of Ultron, also 15 years. Total, 35 years in prison. And we still haven't gotten to his worst crimes. Here's a controversial take. The Hulk is not just a hero. He's also a menace. Sure, he fights bad guys, but he also attacks his own team. Let's break it down. Thor, The Avengers 2012. Hulk tries to crush Thor's skull with Mjolnir. That's attempted manslaughter right there. 15 years for aggravated assault. Black Widow, Age of Ultron 2015. Hulk almost kills her while rampaging through the Avengers Tower. In the real world, 10 years for assaulting an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hulk vs. Iron Man, Age of Ultron 2015. The Hulk loses control and tries to kill Tony Stark. If not for the Hulkbuster suit, Stark would have been dead. Attempted second-degree murder, 25 years. Grandmaster's Arena. Thor, Ragnarok 2017, fights Thor again, ignores surrender, keeps attacking. Unlawful gladiator combat, 5 years. So, for just the assault and attempted murder charges, the Hulk is looking at 55 years in prison. And we haven't even mentioned the people he's actually killed. Okay, so here's the big question. Has the Hulk actually killed anyone? Officially? Marvel plays it safe. They never explicitly show the Hulk murdering someone, but realistically, there's no way he hasn't. When he destroys a building, what happens to the people inside? When he punches a tank, what about the soldiers inside? When he throws cars, is he checking if they're empty first? The Battle of Harlem alone left dozens of soldiers and police officers either dead or permanently injured. In legal terms, this is manslaughter, which carries a sentence of 30 years per victim. Battle of Harlem, at least 10 deaths, 300 years. Battle of New York, dozens of collateral casualties, 600 years. That's a total of 900 years behind bars. Hulk, buddy, I don't think even She-Hulk's law degree can save you from this one. You knew this was coming. The Hulk's worst crime by far is his role in the destruction of Sokovia, Avengers, Age of Ultron. Now, let's be clear. Yes, the Hulk was mind-controlled. Wanda Maximoff messed with his head. making him see his worst fears and sending him into a full-scale rampage in Johannesburg. That's bad enough. But what happened in Sokovia is on another level. This wasn't just a random outburst. This was a war, and the Hulk was one of its most destructive weapons. But does being mind-controlled excuse war crimes? Short answer, no. Under international law, particularly the Geneva Conventions, being mentally compromised or manipulated does not absolve someone of war crimes. You're still responsible for your actions, even if you were coerced into committing them. And after the mind control wore off, did the Hulk turn himself in? No. Try to minimize destruction? No. Keep smashing? Absolutely. He even jumped on an enemy aircraft, ripped it apart, and hurled it into the city. That's not an accident. That's an active decision to keep fighting, even when he knew the city was already collapsing. Let's break it down into specific war crimes. 1. Destruction of civilian infrastructure under the Geneva Conventions. Deliberately destroying cities, towns, hospitals, and essential infrastructure is a war crime, even in combat. And what did the Hulk do? Flattened entire streets, demolished buildings full of civilians, caused catastrophic collateral damage. If this were the real world, he'd be facing trial at The Hague immediately. 2. Indiscriminate attacks on civilians under Article 51 of the Additional Protocols to the Geneva Conventions. Attacks that fail to distinguish between civilians and combatants are strictly prohibited. And that's exactly what the Hulk did. Unlike Thor and Iron Man, who strategically targeted Ultron's forces, Hulk just smashed everything in sight, friend, foe, or innocent bystander. 3. Failure to minimize civilian casualties. Even in war, military forces and superpowered individuals are expected to limit destruction. The Hulk? Zero restraint. Maximum chaos. Instead of using his strength to neutralize threats, he actively contributed to Sokovia's destruction. If it weren't for the Avengers' evacuation efforts, the Hulk's actions alone could have led to total annihilation. 4. Unlawful use of force in a civilian zone. If this were real life, the Hulk's actions would be classified as war crimes under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, ICC. Unjustified use of force, failure to distinguish between combatants and civilians, mass destruction in a non-military zone. Each of these could land him life imprisonment or worse. But wait, could he plead insanity? The only defense the Hulk might have is temporary insanity due to Wanda's mind control. But here's why that wouldn't hold up. He was only controlled at the start. After the mind control wore off, he still kept fighting. He willingly left with Black Widow instead of facing consequences. That's like someone pleading insanity for one crime and then committing 3 more while completely lucid. There's no way the courts would let him walk free. The verdict? For his role in Sokovia, the Hulk would be charged with mass murder, thousands of civilian deaths, war crimes under international law, unlawful destruction of civilian infrastructure, failure to minimize harm in a conflict zone, and the punishment? Life imprisonment. Hulk just earned himself a permanent seat in an underground supermax prison? Probably the Raft, if we're sticking with MCU lore. And trust me, this sentence isn't negotiable. All right, let's add it all up. Mass destruction would be on 100 years. Reckless endangerment would be 35 years. Assault and attempted murder ends up in 55 years. Manslaughter, in total 900 years. War crimes, Sokovia, definitely life sentence. Yeah, Hulk, you might want to stay on Sakaar because Earth's legal system is not on your side. Now, if you like this, check out my next breakdown of Venom's prison sentence. Because trust me, his crimes make the Hulk look like a kindergarten tantrum.
You're an asshole! I swear to God, when I get off this horse, I'm gonna kick your ass, you mother...